Hey, Dandy Walker community, I'm Chris Rogers, the Executive Director of the Dandy Walker Alliance. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Krystal Lacey. Krystal's son, Declan, was born with Dandy Walker. Now 5 years old, Declan is growing and progressing well, and Krystal is on board as the Dandy Walker Alliance's Northeast Coordinator, working to raise awareness in her Connecticut community and beyond. Krystal, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me as well.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Declan. How did you and your family learn of his Dandy Walker diagnosis, and what has the journey looked like since then?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our son Declan, he's about 5.5 now, and he it's been quite a journey in that he does have global developmental delays. So in all areas, physically and cognitively, those are the two big areas that he has delays. He's also nonverbal. As many families might know, for Dandy Walker diagnoses, though there's such a big, large spectrum. And so for some children, they might have Dandy Walker and not even know it, and they might even grow up into adults and not know it. But for Declan, definitely, even during the pregnancy, we knew something was going on. His fetal echoes and those fetal scans showed that there were some brain abnormalities around that 20-week mark, and also there was a hole in his heart. So there were some major findings that had them a bit concerned. And Declan didn't actually get officially diagnosed, so to speak, with Dandy Walker syndrome until he was a few months old. But it was definitely a term that was thrown out by the neurologist who observed him in the NICU. So it was something that as soon as they did that, I'm kind of there, Googling and trying to find out what's Dandy Walker. It wasn't something we had heard of before. But even before that Dandy Walker diagnosis, a lot of those big terminologies were thrown around about his brain and how it was developing. So, they talked about hydrocephalus possibility. They talked about the ventricles in his brain, the cerebellum, and all those things. So it was kind of helpful to get an official diagnosis, but still, even after that, you don't really know exactly what Dandy Walker might entail and what that trajectory might look like for him in the future. But Declan is doing amazing. He's, doing things at his own pace. He's starting to learn to stand and try to balance a few seconds with some support with AFOs on his leg. And he's, he is nonverbal, but he's starting to learn to communicate with an iPad, trying to get him to communicate those needs that he has and what he wants. He's getting lots of services between in school and outside of school, OT, PT, speech. He just has a lot of great support behind him. So, Declan is growing and he's thriving, definitely at his own pace. But every milestone he hits, it's been really exciting to see. So it's just meant a lot for our family to just continue to advocate and spread awareness and to find out a lot more ourselves too along the way.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful to hear that he's progressing so well and hitting some of those milestones. You kind of touched on it regarding the milestones, but I'm curious, what's been the most challenging part for you as a parent? And then on the flip side, what's the most rewarding part?
Yeah, definitely, I would say it pertains to those milestones. I think one of the most challenging things as a parent, especially, at the time we were first-time parents, is you kind of have an expectation of, oh, my child's going to hit these milestones. They're going to say mama and dada, and they're going to walk by, a year old or whatever it might be. And so it can be challenging, I think, for a lot of parents who have children with special needs, not just Dandy Walker. It can be hard because you see your friends have kids around the same time, or, other children in the classroom are hitting these milestones. And to have your child not hit them at the same time can be a bit upsetting. It can be hard at times. So I think that's definitely one of the most challenging parts of being a parent of a child with special needs, or Dandy Walker in particular, is watching other children hit those milestones, and you're constantly comparing your child to others and trying to catch yourself not to do that. But on the flip side, I would say the most rewarding part with Declan especially is when he hits these milestones, like he's starting to try to wobble a little, stand on his own a few seconds without holding on to something or taking a few steps. It's huge. And it's, we're waiting five years for these milestones to happen. So when it finally does, it's even more rewarding and exciting, and everyone's cheering, and everyone's who knows him personally or follows. We have a little Facebook blog going, people following him on there. It's just, they get so excited for him, and it's so exciting for us to watch him hit these milestones. And then he'll smile and be like, yeah, I know. Like, I was gonna do it. Don't worry, guys. So it's definitely, kind of two sides to the same coin, in that it's challenging to watch as he's not hitting the milestones at the same time as his peers, but it's also very rewarding that when he finally does, to get to those moments. So it's definitely two sides of the same coin for sure.
Well, everyone grows and hits those milestones at their own pace. And so it's wonderful to hear that he is. And, I hope that he continues to grow and learn and hit a lot of those. So now you're working with the Connecticut Children's Hospital. Could you tell me a little bit about your work there and your experience there, and then how that kind of ties in with Declan's Dandy Walker journey as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Connecticut, and our family, we lived in the area when Declan was born. Some of his providers, some of his therapists were associated with Connecticut Children's. And unfortunately, we had some hospital stays up in Hartford as well, especially when Declan was younger. And he was in really good hands. He had a great care team. We moved to Massachusetts for a year, and when we moved back, I made a little bit of a career shift myself from being a special ed teacher, and I knew I kind of wanted to work more in the medical field, partially because of Declan, partially because of the positive experiences I've had kind of working with him and with his caregivers in the medical field. So right now I'm working at Connecticut Children's in one of their outpatient clinics, and it's kind of come full circle a bit because it's exciting to kind of be on the other side. As I was a parent before, working with all these providers and therapists, and now a lot of them are actually my coworkers, and they're also now, once again, now that we live back in Connecticut, they're Declan's care team, and his care team is just growing, and I have all these familiar faces that I know personally, and then they also care for Declan. So it's been exciting to see that journey with Connecticut Children's. Connecticut Children's also does a lot of great fundraisers and things like that, which mean a lot to me as well. So just their message and all the great care they have there, I wanted to continue down that road with them. So yeah, it's been exciting. Life has kind of come full circle in that way.
Well, they're lucky to have you on board, and it sounds like you're part of a really good team there and doing a lot to raise awareness for not only Dandy Walker, but beyond that as well in the Connecticut community. So I'm really glad to hear that career change has worked out for you so far. So I know over the past few years, you've done a lot to raise Dandy Walker awareness. Dandy Walker Awareness Month is coming up again in May. And this year you're helping to organize a virtual 5K to raise money to go toward research. You've done this the last few years, but this year you're working on an in-person component for those in the Connecticut area as well. Could you share a little bit about the work you've done over the last few years, and then what this year's in-person event will entail?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of started the year with COVID, because everyone was kind of hunkered down, stuck at home. And I wanted to do some kind of virtual 5K to get people out and moving, but also doing it for a good cause. And so that year in 2020, we did a virtual 5K, and we got a good amount of participation, especially in Connecticut, which was exciting. And people posted some pictures, or they posted their time. Everyone did their walks and runs out on their own. And it was nice for everyone to kind of come together, even though we couldn't actually be together. And it was all raising money for Dandy Walker, which was great. And we passed out to people different trinkets, different stickers, and we had a couple t-shirts left over from the past fundraisers. And so people were able to get the word out that way as well. They were sporting their Dandy Walker shirts, and they've been sticking their Dandy Walker bumper stickers on their car, which has been exciting to see. So we raised money for the virtual 5K, and then we continued to do that the last few years. And this year it'll be really exciting to do an in-person 5K. So for anyone who doesn't live locally, of course, they're more than welcome to still join virtually. But we're hoping for Sunday, May 21st. We'll probably gather around 9 a.m. We're still deciding on the location, but somewhere in Connecticut, we're going to meet up in person for anyone that can join us. So that'll be exciting to get people together in person. And then for anyone who can't join us to still be able to share their fundraising pages and to get some donations in for Dandy Walker Alliance.
Well, the virtual 5K event the last few years has really been a success, and it's really exciting that you're now building up an in-person component as well. I'm really excited to work with you and continue to build that out and raise awareness in your community and across Connecticut and the Northeast as a whole. To anyone tuning in, if you're interested in participating, you can scan the QR code on screen to register. You can complete this virtually, walk and run by yourself anytime on your own in May. But if you're interested in participating in person locally in Connecticut on Sunday, May 21st, reach out to Krystal at northeast@dandy-walker.org to learn more. So I guess to close things out, do you have any insight for families who are new to the diagnosis and they might be wondering what to expect going forward?
Yeah, I think it is definitely hard to say for individual families because everyone's journey can be so different. But I think it's important to not hesitate to reach out. You can reach out to your child's pediatrician or any kind of provider they see. If your child's receiving any kind of therapy, therapists are always a great support system. They always have great resources for families. Reaching out to you, Eric, or even you're more welcome to reach out to myself as far as the Dandy Walker Alliance. It's a great resource to get other families in touch with each other. And sometimes the best teacher can be other families who have kind of walked the road before. So just kind of not hesitating to reach out and to use those resources that are in your local community or might be through your doctor's office. Even if your child's school age, a lot of times teachers are a wealth of knowledge with getting you in touch with other families. Sometimes it's nice to connect, even if your child doesn't have the exact same diagnosis. If they've kind of been down a similar path, it's helpful to touch base with other families and know, there's a village out there, you're not alone. And like I said, anyone's welcome to reach out. I'm always happy to share a little more of Declan's story and to hear what other families are going through and to see any way that we can help them for sure.
Well, the Dandy Walker community is lucky to have you as an advocate, and I really appreciate all the insight that you've given on this call. And I know that a lot of the families tuning in will, recognize some of the similar experiences that you've shared to what they're going through. And like you said, it's really about connecting with other people and sharing those experiences and trying to learn from each other as we all navigate this. So thank you again for taking the time to talk about Declan and your family and all the wonderful work you're doing to promote Dandy Walker awareness in your community and beyond. Declan is lucky to have you as his mom, and the Dandy Walker community is lucky to have families like yours who are so dedicated to their children and to making a difference on a larger and broader scale as well. And again, for those of you tuning in, if you want to join Krystal in Connecticut for the in-person segment of our Dandy Walker Awareness 5K, it'll be on Sunday, May 21st. You can register at the link on screen, or you can send an email to Krystal at northeast@dandy-walker.org to learn more. Krystal, thank you again for talking, and Best of luck with the 5K planning, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chris.